Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back again to another video. In this video, I'm going to take you through the step-by-step approach in downloading and installing macOS onto your virtual machine. But before we get started, if you are new to the channel and you've not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing, liking, and turning on the bell notification for videos like this. I'll really appreciate your support. Now let's dive in. So please watch this video to the end so that you don't miss any of the steps, okay? So to install the macOS into your virtual machine, we are first going to download the VMware Unlocker, okay, which will unlock the VMware to accept macOS operating system. So to download the macOS, you open any of your browsers. In my case, I'm going with Chrome. Then you type https://archive.org/details. I've searched for it before, okay? So this is the URL you need to type. So I'll press enter on my keyboard, and then it will take us to the archive homepage. Okay, so this is where we can download our macOS. So beneath the download options, you see ISO images, you see macOS xdisk image, and then you see torrent. So we are going with the ISO image, okay? So you click on the ISO image, and these are the macOS packages that you can install: Big Sur, Catalina, iSierra, Mojave, Monterey, Ventura. Okay, in my case, I've already downloaded the Mojave onto my machine. Okay, but I can download any of these packages you want. It's the same macOS and it's the same process in installing. So let me take you again to where we can download the VMware Unlocker. So let me open my browser, then I'll go to Google and type VMware VM Unlocker. Okay, VM Unlocker Mac. So this is where you can download it. Okay, so we are going with the first one, GitHub. So we'll click on Dr. Dunk, and then we scroll down. So this is where we can download the VM Unlocker. Okay, then we come to the latest. Okay, so we'll click on latest, and then this is where you can download the unlocker. Okay, so we are going with the zip file. So you click on the zip file, and it will start your download. Okay, so after we've downloaded this application, we are going to install it to enable us to install Mac into the VMware. Okay, so it has finished downloading. It's almost done. Okay, so I'll open, and then this is the unlocker. So you are going to extract this file, and then we install a particular file to enable us to install the Mac OS. Okay, so let me open my virtual machine and show you something. So this my virtual machine is 17. So when I go to create a new virtual machine, and I go to where I have my Mac, which I need to install, you see in the list of guest operating system, you don't see Mac OS. You see Microsoft Windows, Linux, VMware, EX, X, and others. Okay, you don't see anything like Mac OS. Okay, so how can we get Mac OS in the list of guest operating system? Then we need to install the VMware Unlocker to enable us get the Mac OS in the list. So let's first go to the Unlocker. I've already extracted mine here, so I'll open on the one I've extracted on the desktop. Then I'll go to open. We can ignore this. Okay, so we open Windows. Okay, we open Windows, and then we scroll down, and then we install unlocker.exe. Okay, unlocker.exe, the exe. So I'll double click on it. Then we click on yes to allow these changes. So the unlocker is installing. Okay, it's starting the services. So it's done. So press enter key to continue. So I'll press my enter key. Now let me go back to the VMware, and then we see if we have the Mac OS or not. So I'll double click on the virtual machine. So let me go to create a new virtual machine, and then I'll leave the default custom, go to next, and then here we have Apple Mac OS X. Okay, so this is the versions we have. we have all the versions here that you can install. Okay, so to install the Mac OS, let me show you where I have my download of the Mac OS, and then we start the process of installing the Mac into our virtual machine. Okay, so let me go to the download, and this is my Mac OS I downloaded, the Mac OS Mojave. Okay, so let me close this and then open my virtual machine, and then I'll create a new virtual machine. Then I'll leave the default at custom and I click on next. Then I'll leave the default and click on next. And then I'll leave the default. I will install the operating system later. I'll click on next. And then it's the Mac OS is selected. So the version of the Mac OS I downloaded is the Mac OS 10.14. That is a Mojave, okay? So I'll leave the default and then click on next. And here I'll leave the default again and click on next. I'll leave the default and click on next. And here you can allocate any memories for the virtual machine, the Mac. Okay, in my case, I'm going to allocate 4 GB for my Mac because I want the speed to be a bit better. Okay, I want the speed to be okay. So I'll click on next, and then I'll leave the default at NAT, network address translator. I'll click on next. I'll leave the default. I'll leave the default, and then we are going to create a new virtual disk for our Mac OS. Okay, so I'll click on next. And then what size do you want to allocate for your Mac operating system with regards to the hard disks, okay? So I'll leave the default so that if I want to upgrade the Mac OS Mojave 10.14 to a higher version, I would be able to do it, okay? So I'll click on next, and then I'll leave the default, click on next, finish. So now we are going to point to where we have the Mac OS ISO file, okay? So we'll click on CD, DVD, and then we click on use ISO file, and then we browse to where we have the Mac OS. So this is the Mac OS I've downloaded. So I'll click on the image file and I'll click on open, and then I'll click on OK. So after we've done this, we can now power on the virtual machine. So let me power on the virtual machine. So you see the Mac OS installation has started. It will take a while, so when you are installing it and it's taking time, please let it do its thing, okay? So installing the Mac OS into our virtual machine. So if you want to use a Mac operating system, but you don't have the funds to buy a Mac OS machine or Apple machine, and you have a virtual machine, you can install the Mac OS in your virtual machine and use it as a MacBook Pro. So it's very helpful. Okay, it does the same thing as the MacBook you want to buy or you want to use. So please watch this video to the end, and if you find value in this video, please click on the subscribe button for more videos like this. Okay, so we'll leave the default at English, and then we click on next. Sorry, so it's loading. Okay, so here we are not going to install the Mac OS straight. Okay, you see upgrade or install a new copy of Mac OS. We first have to prepare the hard disks we allocated to the Mac OS, okay, before we can install the Mac OS. So I'll click on disk utility and then click on continue. So we'll click on the VMware virtual SATA, And then this is the hard disk we allocated to the macOS, okay? So we are going to erase, and then we click on erase. So here, what name do you want to give to the hard disk, okay? So I'll name it Mac OS. Then I'll click on erase. So we'll leave the default format and the scheme, okay? So it's erasing the hard disk, or it's preparing the hard disk. Okay, so we click on done. So now we'll go back, okay? And then we click on install Mac OS. And then we click on continue. So we click on continue, macOS Mojave, okay? So here you have to accept or agree to the license for you to proceed with the installation. So I'll click on agree, and then I'll confirm from here, agree. So this is the hard disk we prepared, okay? And I named it macOS. So I'll click on the hard disk, which is 42.61 gig, and then I'll click on install. So now it's installing the macOS into our virtual machine, okay? So let's wait for it. Okay, so it has restarted the Mac. So it's starting the Mac. Okay, so it's restarting the Mac. So at this point, I'm going to select my country. So I'll scroll down. Okay, so I'll scroll, then I'll select, okay, Ghana. Then I'll click on continue. So here we are going to select our keyboard layout, okay? So let me scroll down and select my keyboard layout I want to use for my keyboard, okay? So I'll select US, then I'll click on continue, and then my computer does not connect to the internet. But after the installation, I can still do the configuration, okay? So data privacy, so you click on continue, and then how do you want to transfer your information? Don't transfer any information now. So you leave the default, and then you click on continue. So it's loading. So you agree to the license, and then you continue. So let me click on agree, and then I'll agree here. And then you set the name you want to use for your Mac, okay? So let me name the name as, so let me use this name, and then the username will come automatically, okay? So let me set the password for my Mac. So I'll verify the password. Then I'll give a password hint, okay? So I'll continue. So it's creating the account. So here you can edit the image and then you put your own image, but by default is there, so you can change it after you've done installing. Okay, so express setup. Okay, so we leave how it is and then you click on continue. All these settings I'm allowing are the default, but you can do all the settings after you finish installing the Mac. So here you have to choose the looks, okay, the appearance, the desktop appearance of your Mac. So whether you want to use the light or the dark, okay. In my case, I'm going with the light, the default, but you can select the dark if you want, okay. So even if I select the light here, after the installation, I can still go to the dark if I want to use the dark. So let me click on continue, and then it's setting me up. Okay, so now we have our Mac installed. Okay, now we have the Mac fully installed and fully set up. So let me show you something from here. Now on the VM, you see it's not giving us the full screen. Even if we enter full screen mode, it's not giving us the entire screen. So what you can do is click on I finish installing. Okay, so let me again right click on the Mac and then I'll go to eject. Okay, so we first have to eject before we can install the tools. So if I go to my VM, I can now install the VMware tools for my Mac. Okay, so let's see what happens. So now you see you can install VM tools for the Mac so that you can get the full screen of your Mac in the VM. So I'll click on install VMware tools. I'll double click on that to initiate the installation. So I'll scroll down and click on continue, and then I'll leave the default and click on install. So continue installation. Okay, so it's asking for my password I set for the Mac before the installation continues. So let me enter the password quickly. And then click on install. So now it's installing the VMware tools for my Mac so that I can get the full screen of the Mac. Okay, system extension blocked. Okay, let me open the security. And then I'll go to notification. So I'll go to allow. So let me close this and then it's continuing. Okay, so it's registering updated components. So after we've installed the VMware tools, you can get a full screen of your Mac OS in your VM. So now it's done installing the VMware tools for my Mac. So let me restart. and then we see the changes. Okay, so now we are going to get the full screen of the Mac, the full screen experience of the Mac. Okay, so I'm restarting the Mac. Okay, so let me quickly enter my password I set for the Mac, and then we are good to go. So you see now we have the full screen of the Mac OS. So you can use this Mac OS like you are using on the MacBook, like the MacBook, okay? It's the same operating system, but the difference is the physical one and then the virtual machine one, okay? So you see, so let me enter full screen. Okay, so now we have the full screen of our Mac. I think it's still loading, so let's wait for a while. Okay, so you can go to your App Store. So welcome to the Mac App Store. Okay, continue. So this is our App Store, okay? You can download any apps from here, but you need to have a Mac account, okay? So you see, you can download any app you want from here, and the paid versions as well. So you can also search here for any app you want to use. So let me search for okay, let me search for Word. So Microsoft Word. So you see, you can install your Microsoft Word, and then you click on install. You can click on get, and then you click on install for Excel as well. Okay, so any app you want to install, when it comes to the App Store, you can do that. So when you want to go to your browser, you go to the Safari, and then you can browse anything you want. So I'm using Mac on my virtual machine. Okay, I'm not having the MacBook, but I'm using Mac on my virtual machine. So let me go to Google. So you can do anything on your Mac like you are using the MacBook. Okay, so let me close this. You can go to your photos. So let me click on let get started. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the tutorial. Please, if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, to subscribe, and then hit on the bell icon for more tutorials like this. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.